Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of IELTS Switching. Today we would be talking about a new topic, that is how to answer abstract questions in IELTS speaking. Now you would observe with a lot of IELTS speaking tests that the examiner does not ask you those cramped questions that you often find in those practice tests. Rather, the focus is on more abstract topics. The reason being the examiner is trying to judge your thoughts on a certain topic and is trying to mark your speaking level based on whether you're able to demonstrate your ideas better in a spoken manner. And therefore, a lot of time, in order to assess your skills, they would ask you more abstract questions where they have more bandwidth to grade your IELTS speaking abilities. So, oftentimes you would see topics like tell me about a time that you enjoy a lot, or tell me about a memory that you're very fond of, or what do you think about AI in medicine, though that would be very unlikely to come, but just to give you a knowledge of how abstract topics work in IELTS. What is your opinion on the use of AI tools such as ChatGPT in writing assignments and things like that? You would be asked questions that are more made towards an assessing your thoughts as well as your opinions. So today I would demonstrate that with an example to you and highlight on how you can answer abstract topics in your IELTS speaking test. So the best approach is to relax and take some time to think the question through, but don't be quiet for a long time. And therefore, in order to fill that awkward silence when you're thinking your answer, what you could do is just use some filler sentences such as, that's a very interesting question. I've never thought about it this before. But now that you have asked about it, in this time that you've spoken this a bit of this sentence, you can think about your answer, how you want to structure that. And the basic thing to structure your answer is talk about the experience and then relate it with an example. So let's say if an examiner asks me, tell me about a memory you are very fond of, and the way I would structure or answer this question would be, that's a very interesting question. To be honest, I've never thought about it, but now that you have asked, I think my recent trip to Italy was something that I really enjoyed, and I've made some beautiful memories over there. I went there in August with a group of friends. We visited Italy for a week and mainly stayed in Rome, but we did go around different outskirts of the city. The highlight of the trip was visiting historical places and those taking Instagramic shots for ourselves and to capture those memories and everything that we enjoyed over there. I absolutely loved Italian food. I'm not a kind of a person who is into very spicy foods, and I like the natural flavors of things, though I have to admit I am not a really big fan of cheese, and there were a lot of cheese option in Italy, but I was able to find a lot of vegan options. So, however, I found that Italy is overcrowded and congested, and you'd find it very hard to breathe if you're not a person who is used to living in big urban metropolitan cities. I come from an outskirts and therefore was not really used to there. Initially, it felt like a bit of fresh start, but as we moved through and we moved past the third day, I felt like I was at my limit. But thankfully, we only stayed there for 5 days and then returned to my home country, which did not put me off of this experience. And I feel like I've made loads of memories visiting different places and experiencing new cultures. The Italian people were really hospitable, and I'm very fond of their culture. I've brought a lot of souvenirs from there as well, and have shared them with my friends that were back home. So yeah, that was a very good experience there, and some great memories that I've made over there. um though my friend might beg to differ, but that's all on my end. So that's how you can answer a question. So the basic tip is to just relax, start it more like, although I'm not very familiar, but I can talk about this and this is what has happened to me, and try to relate it and expand the answer with examples. So you can talk about the culture of the country you've been to, mm, what kind of things you like. You can talk about the hospitality of the people, the food. You can even share your experience of staying at the hotel that you were staying, whether it was good, how would you like to rate it, and things like that. That is how you expand your answers and allow examiner enough time to be able to judge your skills. One thing you would notice in IELTS speaking is that as you move towards the second half of your test, the questions would start becoming a bit harder. So it would depend on what your level is. If examiner feels that you might have a higher band than they have currently judged, they might ask you a bit difficult questions and more abstract questions in order to assess your level. But if they feel like you're on a lower banding, they might even ask you some easier questions. So let's say if the first question was around what is your memory you're fond of, the second question might be, and you've talked about traveling or tourism, the second question might be, why do you think tourism is important, or why do you think countries should promote tourism? Oftentimes you're given some cue cards as well, and then you're asked to just jot down your thoughts for some time, and then once you've jotted down your thoughts, you might be asked um, to speak your answer in front of the examiner. And I think the best approach here is to just make some bullet points, just two short words or small phrases that would just act as cue cards and would allow you to be able to speak better. This is because you might be asked to speak for 5 minutes and you might run out of ideas on what to say. So if I don't remember incorrectly, because I've given IELTS a long time ago, they give you some time, like around a minute or two, just to write down your thoughts, and then you can craft your answer around that. And I think a very useful point is just to write down phrases that can hint you what you can talk about next. And over there, you can start with main idea of the topic, then relate it with examples, and within examples, you can write different topics. For example, if somebody asks me, why do you think countries should promote tourism? In my cue cards, I would write about economic stability, to show hospitality to other people, to showcase our culture to different people or tourists that are coming to the country, so that they can display that worldwide. It's more of like when somebody visits your country and you promote tourism, they're basically people that you are acting as an ambassador for your country. And when the people come and visit your country and they go back and they talk about your culture and the hospitality of the people, that is not only in terms of economics of a country, but there are various aspects associated with that. So that paints your country in a positive light, and that is what you can talk about, and you can showcase your opinion. Showing your opinion shows critical thinking in IELTS speaking and can help you boost your I score a lot. Another tip that I can give you is to try and practice your IELTS speaking in front of mirror if you're not very confident. And if you are confident, and then you find yourself issues like me, like I often find myself speaking the same words over and over again and using filler words, like I use the word very or like a lot. You might have noticed that as well. And sometimes when I speak to myself, I try to replace those words with some advanced vocabulary or advanced words, not very fancy, but the words that are not used very commonly as well, that would allow the examiner to rate my score on a higher level, because it would show the depth of my vocabulary. And therefore you can practice that with yourself as well. Just write down your answer, try to speak them out loud so that you can hear them back, and that's how your brain wiring functions properly. When you hear the same thing over and over again, you'd be able to realize how many filler words you're using, and then your brain would start thinking how I can replace those words. And over time your spoken English would keep improving a lot. And there's no shortcut to IELTS. Yes, I can give you an example on how you can craft your answer in a better way that would help you boost your higher score. But if you keep using same filler words over and over again, that would help you. So you would have to practice that on daily basis as well. So yeah, this was a very short video. I just wanted to talk about how to answer abstract questions in IELTS, and just provide your basic structure. The basic thing is to just relax when examiner asks you a question, even if you don't know about the topic. um, just use a filler sentence or something like that at the beginning of your answer to take a few minutes just to frame a response in your mind, and then you can talk about the main idea and relate it with an example or some experience from your own life. Before I end, another tip that I'd like to give you is, if you're asked about a topic that you don't know about at all, for example, it's very unlikely, but if examiner asks you about robotics or AI, and if you're not very much into AI and you don't know what to say, you can relate it with something you already know. So, for example, if examiner asks me, what do you know about robots or robotics? I would try to answer that. That's an interesting question. I've never thought about that. But now that you've asked about it, I'm not really familiar with robotics, the discipline as well, and I'm not very into how robots and machines function or work. But I have watched a few movies that are centered around this topic, and I think one that I could think of on top of my head is Real Steel. It's a 2011 movie where the protagonist and his son work on robots and use them for boxing competitions, and then you can just narrate the movie story to the examiner. That would be fine. The basic thing is that you can relate the topic to something else, and don't feel miserable or don't feel bad or guilty to admit that you don't know about the topic. Again, like I've said, IELTS is not a test of your knowledge about a certain topic. It's a test of your English speaking skills, and therefore if you are able to demonstrate certain skills to the examiner, they'd be able to easily grade your IELTS rather than worrying about, oh, I don't know about this topic, or I'm feeling embarrassed about admitting that I don't know about this topic. They are not there to judge you based on whether you have a knowledge of your topic. You're not there for IQ test. You're there for English speaking test, and therefore your focus should be demonstrating how well you can speak English language and how well you can communicate in a spoken way to English speakers, rather than how well versed you are in a topic. But yeah, these were some short tips for today. It's not a long video. Just wanted to share some thoughts with you. But yeah, just to clarify, I'm not a certified IELTS coach or anything. I am just, English is my second language. It's not even my first language. And I'm just talking from my own experience of giving IELTS examination. And I'm trying to learn with you guys. So just sharing my tips, whatever I learn something new, I just try to share it with others as well. Don't forget to comment if you have any comments, if you have any opinion about this or would like to say something. And also, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment box and I will try to answer them. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon. I would see you with another video later. Thank you so much.